So, with that, we're gonna enter the the heavy spoiler section now. That was the light area. Now we're gonna go into full-on spoilers. If you guys don't want to hear that, just stop the video now, or unless you really don't care and you're not gonna go see the movie, which probably most of you kind of aren't because it's really showing.
Please see the movie. Go on,
continue watching.
You know, just you might like it like me, you might hate it, but it's an experience, and you'll be able to tell your kids about it.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell my kids.
Brought back flashes of the Holocaust. That's the kind of... Never mind.
It's like flashbacks to images of Fantastic Four, not the Holocaust. Jesus.
Oh, gosh.
Okay. I think the film's main weakness, I thought, was obviously the heavy editing that happened during it, and it's obvious throughout the film. But I don't think it really started to be noticeable, at least to me, until after the 1 year jump happened. Because I think before that 1 year jump happened, I loved the movie the entire time. But then it's like the 1 year jump happens, and suddenly it's a noticeable decline in quality. Weirdly.
Yeah.
And I mean, I do you guys remember that shot in the trailer where the thing is throwing the tank?
Yeah.
And it suddenly disappears when he throws it, like it explodes, but you don't see any pieces flying away or anything like that? It's just there 1 second, then it snaps away?
Yeah.
That's in the final cut of the movie. I'm like, that's sloppy editing. That's like, you should have cut away before. And especially in the third act, because I'll give the movie points in that the whole movie for me, it never dragged. I thought it was really quick. I was like, whoa, we're done? Okay, cool. Like, it went by super quick. And because I don't know, I never was bored during it. And then when the third act happens, I was surprised that we were, at the conclusion already, because it felt like when they found Doctor Doom, I thought there was going to be like a whole, maybe 30 minutes to 40 minutes of the movie. But then it's like, once Doom shows up, it's like, go, 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 go. And then we're at the end. Okay, credits roll. And it feels a lot like, and it probably was the case when they were actually making the movie, like they were just like, shit, we need to make up a different ending so that way we have a more comic book movie and hopefully we'll attract more people to it. And it resulted in what I thought was a pretty crappy end to a decent movie.
Yeah, they cut out a lot of things from the trailer. I remember in the trailer they had Johnny working on his car and stuff like that, and that was nowhere in the movie whatsoever.
Yeah, I saw a whole GIF set of like the missing scenes from the trailers that weren't in the movies. Like the few noticeable ones are like when we have the thing dropping in from the airplane or whatever.
Oh yeah,
that whole scene is gone. That whole action scene's cut.
And that was in like every trailer.
Yeah, that was like the main selling point, it seemed like, of the trailer.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that, yeah.
Yeah, there was a part when you see Johnny and Sue flying in between the big, whatever they are, big rock formations in the trailer.
Yeah.
In the negative zone, and none of that was in the final movie. Which was odd, and it seems like to me that there was quite a bit more fleshed out scene in the negative zone, or Planet Zero, at the end of the movie, and it hasn't all been put into the final cut.
Yeah, it kind of seemed like there were a good 5 to 10 minutes of the negative zone in the finale cut, because pretty much almost every shot that we see in the negative zone for the final act in the trailers is not in the movie. There's a shot of Ben over what might have been Dr. Doom ready to punch him, like he's on top of him or something like that. That's not in the movie. Neither is the scene where Reed's on the ground and he outstretches his arm or whatever. That shot, that's not in the movie. The one where you see Sue crying, holding on to someone, that's not in the movie. It's weird. It's it feels like there's so much that was cut out of that final act that should have been there. I mean, there seems like there was a whole lot just of the entire movie that was cut out. I mean, if rumors are to be believed, it was about 40 to 50 minutes of what they filmed was gone. And that's an insane amount. I mean, you can't chop that much movie and expect your film to be great.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Thor: The Dark World. There's a lot
missing.
Yeah, definitely. And it feels like a lot of potential. It feels almost like Daredevil again. The Daredevil movie, where I know people are going to disagree, but it was the producer came into the movie and he pretty much locked out the director and was just like, I'm going to work on this and we're going to make, you know, a fast-paced movie. We're going to cut out all the talky-talk dialogue because no one wants that in their comic book movie. And we're just going to fast-pace this, get this movie over as quickly as possible, and resulted in a pretty crappy movie. And the director's cut of that movie is better, considerably, because you get all the... It's like 20 to 30 minutes longer. And it felt like they were trying to fast-track the movie. It definitely feels like Fox had no confidence in this movie, which I hate to say it, because, you know, I felt like they've been very confident in their X-Men films. But here, every sign that I tried to ignore, granted, felt like they were just trying to get this out as soon as possible and move on.
Yeah, it's very disappointing because especially like with what they've done recently, the past 3 X-Men movies, you know, Wolverine, First Class, and Days of Future Past have all been really good. And so I think my expectations were much higher for this, I guess, before, as the movie was getting closer, and I think my expectations for the Fantastic Four started to kind of lower, you know, just because, you know, you saw more footage and the controversy, and while you try not to have that stuff, you know, affect you, it kind of does, and it realistically did lower my expectations. But, you know, I'm not narrow-minded, and I'm not gonna, like, you know, say this movie sucks or whatever before I've seen the whole thing, you know, and judge for myself. So, but yeah, there was a lot that, you know, because you can tell, because Deadpool is 6 months away and they are already promoting the shit out of that movie. And we didn't get promotions for Fantastic Four until just a few months before it came out.
Yeah, man, they were promoting the hell out of Deadpool before the movie was even finished filming.
Yeah. And so you can tell Fox's, you know, confidence with that compared to, you know, I didn't even see hardly any merchandise for the Fantastic Four movie. I mean, I
haven't seen any.
I know they can only do...
There's other things to do with that as well, though, with Marvel and all that nonsense.
Yeah, like well, that too. But I mean, the only thing I saw was like the Thing burger. You know?
What is with Fox and cheeseburgers?
But yeah,
I think at a merchandise side of things, Fox are definitely at a disadvantage because with Spider-Man, Marvel's always still produced a lot of the merchandising because I think they got part of the cut or something, if I remember rightly. Whereas with the Fox owned, I don't think they do. Or if they do, they just don't want to promote those movies at all in any way.
Well, so, I believe we've heard reports before that like Marvel owns kind of like the merchandising rights to X-Men, and that's why you don't see like any X-Men toys really at all or anything like that being advertised.
I think it's the same thing with Fantastic Four, because before I actually went to see the movie, I was in a comic book store and I was looking in the Marvel section, just action figures and stuff. The only thing I could find was it was a Fantastic Four. It was a Future Foundation, but it had Spider-Man and Doctor Doom, and Doctor Doom wasn't even in his like normal costume. He was in a slightly altered costume, and Spider-Man was in the Future Foundation costume. But no Human Torch, no The Thing, no Reed Richards, no Sue Storm anywhere. It was it's odd.
Well, that's the dark side of when people own half your rights to what you can show. But, okay, with Fantastic Four, what did you guys think of Doctor Doom's portrayal, actually, since we're talking about that, since we brought up Doctor Doom?
pretty sour, I guess is the best word to describe it. I mean, that was nothing like Doom. I mean, look and personality-wise.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely doesn't look like comic book Doom, and I think we all kind of suspected that to begin with, but I kind of like where they were going with it. I like that they gave him powers. I'm not the biggest fan of Doctor Doom. I will say I think he's probably one of the... I'm not going to say lamest. I think to me, he's one of the weakest big Marvel villains, to me. And I know, you know, there's so many people who love Doctor Doom. I don't. I think he's just kind of, I'm not a fan of, you know, just a guy who's just a scientist and owns
Yeah, to each his own.
Yeah, I know. Who owns his whole country and whatnot. I mean, to each his own.
I hate Thor, and people like Thor, and I don't know why, but, you know.
And I hate Captain Marvel completely and rationally.
There was that scene with Thor, God forbid. That scene with Doom, when he was popping off heads, that was pretty badass. Not gonna lie.
That was a great scene.
It was pretty cool. I felt like that's what Doom should be. Like, you know, I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna, you know, like, just look at you and you die. Like, that's the Doom that I want to see. Other than that, like Blackjack said, like, his background, him and Ben Grimm kind of got the shaft in the movie as far as, like, character development goes. In my opinion, really, everyone in the movie except for Reed kind of got the shaft as far as character development goes. Okay. But Doom especially, like, just, you know, I'm used to it because, you know, we're used to seeing watered down villains from Marvel, even though, you know, this one was a Fox movie. Yeah. But, and then the whole fight scene, how it just ended, it was just really quick, and it did not do justice to the already shallow character and just made him seem like really weak in the spectrum of things. And it was just, yeah.
I want to know where the consistency in his power is because, okay, I brought up, I'm not a fan of regular Doctor Doom, and I like this interpretation where he's got that kind of power where, you know, he doesn't even have to look at someone. It's just like their heads are going to fucking pop no matter what if they're just near him. I kind of like that. I like that he's got that power given to him. What I don't like, though, is that it's not consistent.
Yeah.
Because when he's fighting the Fantastic Four, the best thing he can do is, like, throw rocks at them. And it might have been just because I think that whole final action sequence was, like, really badly directed. I don't think Trank was the one who directed that final action sequence. I brought this up with Blackjack when we were talking yesterday. That it feels like they might have given the camera to, like, Simon Kinberg or someone and just been like, okay, we need you to film this scene. Because a lot of that action looks really weirdly directed where they're just, you know, a lot of it's just them kind of standing in place. And when they actually do the movements, it doesn't feel fluid at all.
Yeah.
And it's a disservice to Doctor Doom, especially considering that's, like, the big action scene that you're waiting for, you know, to see the villain fight the heroes, and it's just really disappointing to me.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's such a poor display of, you know, their unique abilities. I mean, you got Mr. Fantastic throwing punches, and he throws like 3, and that's part of your climax. And then, oh my god, it's so generic. It's like a film student, like on his first day of school, was handed the camera and said, "Shoot this." I mean, like, it's so predictable. I mean, you've got first it's Johnny, then Sue, Ben, and then Reed, and then it's like, oh, we can't do it all on our own, but we can do it together. And oh my.
Yeah. It was like a quick way to explain how they decided to work together.
Yeah, and that wasn't like Reed was kind of, you know, that kind of came out of nowhere with him. I mean, it was generic and kind of out of, I don't want to say too far out of character, but I mean, throughout the whole film, he was kind of like, you know, struggling with this, and then all of a sudden he, you know, merges into that leader role for one line. So, I mean,
yeah. Well, okay.
I
think part of him. You really?
Yeah, I really liked him. He was I liked his design, and I thought he looked really cool. And I liked how they explained it and gave a good reason as to why he looks like that, and made it all with his powers and stuff. And he was in tune with the Planet Zero, and I enjoyed the portrayal of him. Because I went in and I expected Ultimate Doctor Doom, who I'm not a huge fan of, because they don't ever really play him as such of a villain. They more play him as sort of like an uneasy alliance, sort of, because 9 times out of 10, the Fantastic Four ends up teaming up with Ultimate Doctor Doom to stop something. Whereas this Doom was just evil. Like that bit when he's just walking in the corridor and there's just random scientists and he's just exploding their heads, and just he doesn't care who they are. He's just killing them all, and even the Doctor Storm, Franklin Storm. That bit, I was like, surely he's not going to kill him. Come on, he's not a bad guy. But yeah.
Well, the sad fact is, they have to kill one black character in the movie, so it always happens.
Well, speaking of Storm, another thing I really was hoping that they want to go down is make Sue an object of affection for Victor and Reed, and they did that too. And I mean, I know it's hinted kind of like that in the comics, but the fact that they would do it in two separate stories.
Yeah.
Oof.
Well,
it lessens Doom as a character.
Oh gosh, I'm still in this.
I don't even remember it being much in the Ultimate Comics.
They didn't really use it a lot, though. It was a minor plot point in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even get why, because you can kind of first pick up on it when he says that he'll trust Sue but nobody else. And then I'm fine with, I thought that he was going to be like, like a friend thing, almost, like a companion or like an equal to Doom. But no, it turns out just to be some love interest or half-assed love interest in it.
It was. I think it was more like trying to half-ass a early conflict between Reed and Victor.
Yeah,
that really shouldn't have been there in the first place, because you have enough conflict between them being equal minds and competing basically to kind of get the fame almost. I love the scene early on in the film where it's Johnny, Victor, and Reed kind of getting drunk together. And, kind of just talking. I think that's a really well done scene, because, you get a good character scene, and you get to understand their motivations and everything, and you see a little bit of Dr. Doom, Victor's ego, and you see a little bit of Reed's kind of ego-ish. But I really like that scene, and it's able to hint at some sort of conflict between, their interests. And when you have that Sue romance thing tacked on there, like the 2005 Fantastic Four, it feels out of place.
Yeah, and see, like that scene, I really enjoyed that scene, but that's one of the pitfalls of the film, is because they don't capitalize on anything in that scene. I mean, you've got.
Yeah, they totally dropped out the seed and or the Reed and Sue romance at all.
I feel that's the case in most of the movie, is that there's a lot of really good ideas that are started, but there's not really any resolution to them. Because there's another scene, too, with the experimentation in the first act, where they return from the negative zone and they're being, tested and everything. Where, Reed wakes up and he's all outstretched. And this is another one of my favorite scenes, is when he's escaping and there's, Ben begging for him to help him and everything. And Reed's just like, I gotta go. I think that's a great scene, and it really sets up, how hard it is going to be for them to trust each other again, And they do hint at it in the second act of the movie, when he's just like, oh, I'm not your friend anymore, but then it's never resolved. It's just like he says that, and then all of a sudden they're working together at the third act, and then at the end of the movie they're best friends.
Yeah, so that's what it's not, the first half isn't full of character development, but it really hints at that. But then the second half is just completely empty and barren of character development, and it is full of just exposition and nothing more. I mean, that's the sad part, because it was building up to so much in the first half.
Mm-hmm. Well, going back to the absence of the Reed and Sue Storm romance, they really hinted at it at the beginning of the movie. Of course, you had that scene we talked about where he's flirting with her, but he was the library scene where he was really nervous around her, and then when they were building the device, he was just trying to muster up the courage to talk to her and whatever, and then they kind of just stopped with it, and then they kind of they. A year later happens, and they pick up Reed, and he's like, well, he'll talk to Sue, and it's kind of like,
they never
why
talk.
would he? We never got anything really,
Yeah. It's another example of the wasted potential. I mean, it reminds me, I know it's probably not the best comparison for some people, but I think, The Amazing Spider-Man 1, I think, had really great, kind of romantic type of scenes. And I think the dialogue worked. It felt like, two people awkwardly meeting, who kind of have a crush on each other. And I got that feeling in the library scene, and I thought it worked very well, but there's never any payoff to it. There's no development later on. It's like I said, I think the first 40 minutes of the movie are wonderfully well done, but there's no payoff for a lot of what's set up in it.
Yeah, I mean, it ends up being a slap to the face for anybody that got invested in it. I mean,
absolutely.
And the third act is such a joke. I mean, it was obviously rushed together, and Trank by that point in the editing room must have been kicked off duty or something like that. Because I mean, just the way the shots were composed and put next to each other. I mean, they're terrible shots to begin with, but then there's like a complete and utter lack of continuity between them.
Oh yeah.
Well, there was even when they did the reshoots, like you could notice in a lot of scenes that Kate Mara's hair was different, and it's just lazy editing.
Yeah,
it's like there's no excuse for it. I mean, I know you don't have faith in like a film, but that's not good at all.
Horribly noticeable. Like, I was surprised that could have made it to the final cut of the film. Were they really like not paying attention to that? I don't get like how that could have happened, especially on. They had over $100 million budgeted film. They should be able to put some more effort into something like that.
All the cuts, it's probably close to 100 million then. 120.
Yeah, a lot of the budget cuts that happened. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the details of what everything happened, but I really think studio involvement like really fucked up the
definitely.
film.
Well, Blackjack mentioned it to me yesterday. There was a lot of budget cuts that were happening, like tens of millions. So the movie very much could have just had a budget of 100 million, to maybe even less. And so it definitely shows in the film that the budget probably shrunk while in production, and that's not something you really want at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the sad part, because Fox has a history of this. I mean, they did it to Bryan Singer in the first X-Men film. I mean, he prevailed, but, I mean, still, they kept chipping away at the budget for him. Gavin Hood on Origins, they did the same thing, and you can really tell with, like, the bathroom scene.
Daredevil.
With the clothes. Yeah, Daredevil was another thing. I mean, Fox gets these young directors, and they just kind of bully them around in production. And go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think, Fox has a really bad habit of doing that. They don't do that really anymore for their X-Men films. They haven't done it since the first one. Well, okay, since Origins, I should say. My bad.
Well, I think it's because they trust Singer, and he does do a really good job.
And by that point, Vaughn was already established, because because I think what was the first film he did that they wanted
he did Lyric X, which is an excellent film if no one's seen it.
Yeah, so they wanted him on X3 because of that, but he dropped out after realizing how big of a mess it was going to be. So
complete pile of shit.
Yeah.
So then once you get over to what was it, First Class, he did what did he do?
He did Kick-Ass and Stardust by then.
Yeah, by that point. So they had they must have had more faith in him than say Trank or Gavin Hood.
Yeah, well, it feels like they definitely don't do it to more established actors, because it's a habit that I think they really need to get rid of, and I think is still present even after Tom Rothman left, because even the Wolverine with James Mangold, who directed it, who was a decently established director, he had a few films under his belt. But, you notice in that film where it's like the first two acts are really excellent, and that third act, while I like it, definitely comes out of nowhere and is jarring. And it definitely...
they cut out a lot of that.
Yeah, and it feels like it was put there because they wanted a comic book movie type of ending. And the same thing happened to Fantastic Four, but in a much worse effect. Yeah. And I'm curious, too, just how much was changed from from what Trank wanted to do with Fantastic Four, because even with the whole rumor of it possibly being 40 to 50 minutes of footage not used, you also have to factor in like the final third act, which feels like it was done by someone else. So that's another 20 minutes of the movie. So there could have been a whole hour that Trank did that's just replaced.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
That's insane.
yeah, I mean, I imagine, because there was rumors or people have been hearing that Fox pulled 3 set pieces from the film. So I imagine that, off the top of my head, that's more negative zone stuff in the third act.
Yeah.
Probably Reed in the cabin, and then I got to think there's got to be some. Yeah, I was gonna say something between like the 4 main characters before the negative zone accident, because I mean I don't think there's any interaction between Ben and Sue throughout the whole entire film.
Yeah,
That you think about it.
And like I'm kind of like, I have respect for all of the actors, because all this shit went down, and through interviews and everything, they haven't said anything.
Just smile
about
and wave, boys.
They've done a good job at, like, they were on talk shows, they promoted the movie, they could have been like, yeah, like, drank and threw a fit and trashed his hotel room and Fox, and we just, they've done a really good job in, like, promoting the movie, and because they have to know that with all this happening, there was bad feelings going around and stuff like that, and they probably weren't completely happy with their experience and whatnot, and so props to them.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, you would never have guessed what had happened, especially with like interviews from like Toby Kebbell, who plays Doctor Doom in the movie, who's hardly in the movie, and yet I think he was probably like the most interviewed person from the actors, I thought, and he was also the source of a lot of the hate that the movie got before production even began, and he's hardly in the movie.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say that was another one of the sad parts, because you have Doom in the first half. Victor. I mean, he was kind of interesting. He's anti-government. He's kind of that shady character. That he's got his own set of morals, and then he gets lost in the negative zone, and then he's just gone. He's gone up until the third act, and then all he does in the third act is he comes back, he pops heads, he goes back there, and then he gets his butt whooped, and dies.
Yeah.
Oh my god, Doom is just such a mess of a villain.
Yeah, I think there were like a good 20 minutes with Doom in the movie in the third act that was gone, because there's a lot that was missing, I think, that was probably supposed to develop him as a better villain. And with that being said, with how much has been changed, I feel like Fox might have walked in and thought they had no confidence in the movie, even with before even production began, because from the rumor that was said was that they pulled 3 set pieces like literally days before shooting began. And then when you factor that in with the set piece with the thing at the military base or whatever that was cut from the final movie, and then probably like half of the Doom fight is cut out of the movie, it feels like, that's like almost 5 action scenes cut out of the movie. So it definitely feels like, with no confidence in the film, they were trying to minimize the cost as much as possible until, the film cost them nothing. So if it's a flop, they don't care. It's not a big deal to them. Mm-hmm. And that also might go hand in hand with a recent quote that they said, which, granted, Sony said the same thing with Amazing Spider-Man 2, where they're like, we're disappointed in the box office returns, but we're still committed to continuing this franchise. And I feel it's probably, the reason they might feel like that is because they probably had so little invested in this first movie. And, I wouldn't be against a sequel, but... Yeah, I know, Jilly might feel differently. I would not be against it. I think it laid a good foundation that can be improved upon in the sequel. Don't go, Amazing Spider-Man route, but, I mean, there's a lot more that you can do in the sequel. You could be more Fantastic Four than your first movie. You'll have the costumes and everything. You'll have more villains in it, You
got the Baxter villain. I think we can try and turn them into that celebrity status that they have in the comics.
Yeah.
Here's my thing about a sequel. It's not that I wouldn't want a sequel. It's that this movie is so negatively reviewed that there is no way these people are going to want to put money into another one. It wouldn't matter if it was the best movie made of all time. There's people out there Like, you can see on the internet, there are people out there that just wouldn't throw their money into this because they thought this movie was like the worst thing since the Holocaust.
Without seeing the movie.
I mean, yeah. Well, those people are stupid, but there are some people who have seen the movie and say it's the worst, and that's their opinion. And
I mean, we can't help it if people are wrong. I'm sorry. It's like I can't understand how you could think this is the worst comic book movie of all time with the likes of Green Lantern.
I don't think it's as bad as Superman Returns or Green Lantern or Batman and Robin or the God forbid the original Hulk movie with Eric Bana. Oh,
hey! I love that.
That
movie.
one just makes my brain cells want to die. But
I think that if Fox were dedicated enough, because I don't think Fox isn't as big on depending on like tripling their budget as say Marvel or DC are. They're more because it shows in like Origins, like X-Men Origins' Return, is that they made 2.5 times their budget.
Mm-hmm.
So I know it's probably not going to happen, but imagine Fantastic Four makes twice its budget. Unlikely, completely unlikely.
Mm-hmm. They might make their budget.
They might make their budget. And we don't even know what the actual budget is with how many freaking cuts they did to the production. So what if this movie only cost them fucking $50 million?
Yeah.
I'd believe it if they said that.
I almost think the direction for it, if they wanted to keep the rights, which I don't think they're in a hassle like Sony is, because Sony was like, really depending on the Spider-Man franchise to keep
desperate,
them. Yeah, whereas, Fox, I think, has, like Avatar, right?
Well, they have X-Men, they've got the Apes movies, they've probably got Avatar, So
yeah, I think Avatar was Fox and whatever. So, I mean, they're doing fine as a company as far as money is concerned. Mm-hmm. I would almost say, like, do a crossover with the X-Men.
Yeah.
To hope and see if that does well. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know if I want them to, like, You don't
want them to taint the X-Men universe.
I feel like that's why they didn't make any reference to mutants in this one. Mainly in the fact that we don't want to put this Fantastic Four in there just yet, because if this Fantastic Four is horrible and we do decide to reboot, we don't want to have the crap Fantastic Four stuck in that universe, and we can't put a Fantastic Four back in. But I was hoping that in the future they would put that Fantastic Four into the X-Men universe, because I like the casting, and I like that grouping.
They better not reboot.
And I'd like to see them in another movie that was approached with a better mindset and I want to see a sequel, or at least a spin-off with the X-Men, where they take the characters and just approach them in a better manner than how they did in this movie. Where I agree, the ending did kind of feel a bit odd, like the part when Johnny gives Reed a hug, and like, okay, that kind of came out of nowhere, but I guess maybe but I feel like what's really happened there is there was probably a scene somewhere that's been cut out of them bonding, because you see at the beginning when Johnny's introduced to them all, Reed's like, hey, come over and help me, and Doom's just being a Doom. And
Doom.
And so you see like a sort of friendship that starts, but we don't see the middle bit. And I feel like a lot of the movie is that where we see the beginnings, and we see kind of where it starts to end, but we didn't see any of the bit where it actually happens.
And you kind of have to take into mind,
because it suffered.
In defense of the movie a little bit, you kind of have to take into mind they did kind of fast forward them building the machine. So time did pass, Johnny's arm healed, and so it was, it takes some time to heal broken bone and whatever, and so that this did take time to build and whatever. So I guess, you assume that within that time, they were there every day interacting with each other and whatnot.
The drinking scene sort of alludes to it as well.
But outside of that, they could have hinted more towards character development as well.
Ben Grimm, I think, suffers the worst because there's a child in the friendship. I feel like they did the friendship pretty well between him and Reed, but then between him and the other, like Johnny, they sort of have stuff going on there a bit. But Sue and I mean, in the Ultimate comics, Sue and Ben, the same kind of thing happens where they don't interact at all unless it's through other characters, and it worked in that because it was a continual comic run, and eventually they ended up doing stuff with it, which I wasn't a huge fan of, but anyway, but I feel like they needed something to show that they acknowledged each other's existence.
Yeah. There's no interaction between them in the entire movie.
Yeah, that was it did. And I think at the very end was the only time Ben and Johnny interacted. You know, when they it
was at the end.
Yeah, it was at the end. I don't even remember what Johnny said that pissed off Ben, but yeah, I mean, it was just completely barren of.
Yeah, at the end he goes.
Yeah, it was a hinting at, like, you know, oh, it's like the comic, but it's like there was nothing to base it off. You're like, that's the first time they've even like spoken to each other that we've seen.
Yeah, Johnny's supposed to be a troll, and he wasn't.
And he wasn't.
Kind of disappointed.
He makes fun of Doom a lot.
Oh yeah, he does. Well, Johnny picks on everyone, but he especially picks on Ben a whole lot.
Calls him Adolf.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, at least that's what the Tim Story films got right. Is for the most part their interactions. That sounded pretty stupid. Edible cheeseburger. No, but their core interactions between the main characters. They at least got that right.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of.
I feel like they got the
Go ahead.
characterizations okay. They just didn't use it a lot.
Yeah, that's the story for most of the film. I mean, they hinted at everything, and then they just kind of left it. I mean, they needed to flesh some stuff out. You know, a rewrite really could have helped the film.
Yeah, definitely. There should have been, you know, a new set of eyes looking at like the final script or whatever, and be like, that needs a lot of work, guys.
Just bring in Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
No.
He'll make the best Fantastic Four movie.
Since he's gone from Warner Brothers, just bring him in Fox.
Fuck, scoop
They're
him up.
called the Fantastic Four, but they don't have any superpowers. They're just scientists.
Reed throws rubber bands.
Christopher Nolan makes everything better. That's my cop out for now on.
Yeah.
Well, if Christopher Nolan would have been in it, if he would have done it, it would have been fine.
A better movie.
It would have been a better movie.
He would have explained Johnny's broken arm by giving him a magical arm brace that heals his broken bones.
Now, since we've kind of covered basically everything we've thought about the movie, where do you think the franchise is headed now?
Eternal hell.
Where do I think, or where do I hope?
Okay, let's go. You can go with both. I mean, where do you think? Where do you hope?
I think at this point they're separate things for Bowie.
Yeah, that's true.
See, I hope that Fox goes against all odds and decides, you know what, we're going to make a sequel, and we're going to do it good this time. We're going to
get an experienced director.
Well, I don't know. I'd like to see Josh Trank back, but maybe not. I know he's definitely not coming back. He's severed all ties with Fox. I feel like he suffered a lot in this movie, and I feel I'd like to see him brought back, even as just a producer in the movie. But I agree. They should probably bring a director, maybe even what's his face, who did First Class.
Matthew Vaughn.
Yeah, I'm not good with names. But even someone like him, who's got experience in that universe, and I mean, I love First Class. It's my favorite X-Men movie by far. They need to. I'd hope they just do a sequel, bring a better or not even a better director, and I think Trank's a pretty good director. I love Chronicle, but a more experienced director, and just continue what the first one set up, but actually advance it and not just do more and more setup. And I feel like Fantastic Four has suffered Iron Man 2 syndrome, where it had to be done to set up everything, and a lot of origin movies can suffer from that. I mean, lots don't, so there's obviously ways that you can not do it, and I feel like Fantastic Four may have done it if they hadn't cut so much. But I feel like, yeah, I'd like them to do a sequel and just do the Fantastic Four, because that's what they've set up now. They are the Fantastic Four. They have a base. It isn't the Baxter Building, but I don't mind, to be honest. And have them maybe do like a year or two between the Fantastic Four and the sequel, and just have, oh yeah, during this time they've became superheroes. Or even don't do that. Do it so that they've had their abilities and they've helped out, but they haven't really done much because there's nothing to do. And then all of a sudden, a villain appears.
Won't be Mole Man.
It's Annihilation. It's the Skrulls. It's not Mole Man because they killed him for some odd reason. I don't know. But I feel like that's what I'd like them to do. What I think they'll do is they'll just be like, nope, kill it. Take it out back, just shoot it in the head, we'll start again. Or they'll just never look at it again, and we'll never see Fantastic Four, ever.
Or they could just, sell the rights to Universal to flip off Marvel Studios.
Honestly, I think
that would piss off
they should
so
sell
many
it to
families.
Universal.
Well, it's like now you have Namor.
They don't have a superhero.
Well, I brought this up earlier in a call that we did, was that if they sold it to Universal, you could have Namor, you can have a Namor solo, you can have a Silver Surfer solo, you can have Fantastic Four, you can have your own Fantastic Four universe going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be sort of like what Sony did with Spider-Man,
but
better. Because Fantastic Four, in my opinion, has the best villains. I mean, right now, Fox has the best Marvel villains by far. And in my opinion, also some of the best characters from Marvel. And they have such potential, and they waste it so much, and it irritates me.
What are you talking about? They have the best villains. I mean, Marvel's got freaking Darkseid. I mean Thanos.
Yeah.
And what about Loki? Let's use him in his
Well, I mean, people would say the same thing about Magneto.
Yeah, true.
But
yeah.
But then I don't really count the old X-Men movies anymore, because those are just a alternate universe.
Yeah.
Because anything forward can happen differently. And the Magneto origin we had in First Class, I think if you just look at First Class alone and without any other movie, was such
perfect.
A strong character.
Yeah.
And even more so in Days of Future Past. So that's 2 going forward with just Fassbender. I mean,
come on, Fox, you have a great villain in that.
Yeah, Fox does know how to do good villains, and I'm really looking forward to Apocalypse. I think he'll be good.
What do you... okay, well, to get more back on track with Fantastic Four, we can't go down an X-Men talk, even though I'd like to. What do you think, Jilly?
What I would like is... I really enjoyed the cast of this movie. It was one of the things I really did like. The only... with what they were giving, I really thought they did a good job with what they were given. Even Doom. I thought that... I thought he was... I thought the actor that portrayed him was really did a really good job for what he was given by Fox and Trank. The only part of the cast that kind of made me cringe a couple times was near the end when Teller was giving his battle speeches at the end or whatever as Mr. Fantastic, and it was just really high pitched and kind of weird sounding, and it kind of made me cringe. But other than that, I really thought all the cast was great, and so I would like, if Fox is going to keep the rights, I would like to see them use the cast again and just make the movie better, make a better movie. What I think will happen, I'm a skeptic. I think they're going to sell the rights back to Marvel, and I think we're going to see a Netflix show, because God forbid, if they sell the rights and they reboot the Fantastic Four, I will not pay to see another fucking origin movie for Fantastic Four.
Yeah, and if they were to do it in the Marvel Universe, you kind of have to do an origin story because you have to explain how they're famous, and no one else freaking noticed that.
Yeah, and like it would just have the Spider-Man effect. Like I don't give a shit about the Spider-Man movie coming up because it's the third rendition we've had in the last 15 years, and it's just like enough's enough, know. And so I think that's what's going to happen. We'll see, but that's because.
Yeah, but see, that's only the second Batman in 15 years, so that's okay.
Yeah, well, yeah. And
yeah, I know.
And so, like, well, third Superman, but whatever. Well, actually, yeah, whatever. Yeah. Anyways, that's because I'm a skeptic, and it might come down to the, that my sports teams all suck, and so it's made me a skeptical person in life and whatnot. It's the trivials of being a Cincinnati fan and whatnot, but
send your hate mail to Jilly.
But I'm just well-rounded. But yeah, that's what I think will happen. I think they'll either sell the rights back to Marvel, or we'll see possibly a Sony Marvel deal. Okay.
And what about you, Blackjack?
It's I'm pretty sure Fox is going to sit on the rights for the next 5 to 7 years, and then just let them revert. I don't think you're going to be able to find a director with any senses to take on a project like that again, and with good reason. Because Fox, they need to learn that when you hire these guys to devote 2 years of their lives to this project and pour their hearts into it, they need to do their jobs, and they've clearly not done that. And then you just can't go around doing that, and I don't think anybody's going to want to tackle this project with Fox. If it goes over to Marvel, I'm sure you have a line of 15 people or more, wanting to do it.
Marvel's gonna get that bottom of the barrel director and make a great movie somehow.
Yeah, just Fox. I think enough is enough. I don't think there's any way that they're going to try to strike a deal with it, with Marvel. I think they're just going to squat on the rights.
Yeah,
that's going to piss off the fanboys as well.
I'd just be stunned if they could find somebody that would want to tackle this project again. I don't know what's
some serious.
At this point, Fox has made this property repulsive, I think, in the eyes of any kind of filmmaker, because they've proven time and time again that they'll bully you around in production. And so, when are they going to learn to just let these people do their jobs? Clearly it's bitten them in the ass.
Maybe Fantastic Four will let them learn.
Yeah, well, hopefully.
Maybe this is them.
I'm curious. Has there ever been reports of them bullying Tim Story when he did his Fantastic Four movies? I don't think there has been. I think they gave him free reign, and that might be why they were so cautious with this one. Because they're like, we gave that guy full reign.
I was too young to know any of those back then.
I wouldn't be surprised if they bullied him around. I'm sure there has to be some instances. I know Galactus, for a fact, was in Tim Story's original vision. Fox changed it around because,
that was a Rothman vision.
Yeah, they've got it in their mindset that if they don't understand it, nobody will. Which is, straight up stupid.
Damn you, Fox.
I'm just a fucking cloud. The fuck? That was the worst. Oh.
Yeah, so they'll probably squat on the rights. God bless them if they could find some poor soul that'll willingly take on this property again, but...
if they want to pay me a bunch of money, I'll fuck up another Fantastic Four movie for them.
Come on, guys, contact one of us. We'll be all for it. We will friggin' knock it out of the park or ruin you.
It'll...
you'll only be able to direct half of it, because clearly Fox isn't keen on getting directors to make the whole film.
Alright, okay... My hopes and what I think it'll turn out to be there's so many different things where I'm trying to think of what I'm hoping they'll go to. So it's I hope they'll do a sequel, because I think this first movie laid a foundation that I think can be really improved upon and make a really good Fantastic Four movie. So that's what I kind of hope for. On the other hand, if they were to go on with a sequel, I prefer if they would, instead of going to a direct sequel, to do a whole X-Men crossover, to see if they can bring back some of the fan base. And I know you'll be like, oh, but it'll taint the Fantastic Four, whatever. Okay, it'll taint the X-Men, my bad. But the Fantastic Four have already been the X-Men universe, because if you remember that deleted scene where Reed turns into Logan for a second, there's 2 Fantastic Fours in the X-Men universe.
When was this?
It was a... Oh, it's a deleted scene that almost made the final cut of the 2005 Fantastic Four, where Reed morphed his face into Wolverine, and it was horrible.
Yeah, and he did it in this film too, except it wasn't Wolverine. It's just some random stranger.
Actually,
the CGI.
I actually thought
the CGI on that was equally as terrible as the Tim Story face.
Oh, come on now.
No, this is.
I don't know about.
Oh my God! It was abysmal. Yeah, it's pretty god awful in some parts, especially in the third act.
I don't think it was god awful. I think the third act is where it was noticeable, at least to me, where I was like, okay, that's not good.
Yeah,
but
I mean, it's not Zack Snyder good.
Oh no.
Yeah, no.
Okay. Go ahead. You guys finish your thoughts before I finish.
Oh, I was just going to list off directors that actually knew how to direct action and CGI.
Okay, let's not go there.
But I mean, they could. I mean, if they wanted to, they could easily, because even though they didn't mention the X-Men in this film, they could definitely use the travel to different dimensions as a setup.
Yeah, and I feel like they could definitely do that, and it would be a way if they can, get like Singer on it or something like that. Someone who can write a good script, and
Not that I want that.
I know, but if that were the case, they could bring back some of the good faith on that movie. The third thing I would like them to do is if they sell it to Universal, but that's not going to happen. Because, I would love a Fantastic Four universe, You
just don't want Marvel to have the rights.
Kind of. Because I'm like, you know what? I've seen the Tim Story movies. I know that's what's going to happen again.
You just want to see all the salt, don't you?
A little bit.
I don't want the rights to go back to Marvel.
So much salt.
A little bit. Okay, what I'm probably in reality, I'm thinking it'll probably be either they're going to squat on the rights for 7 years until it reverts, and by that point, who knows how the comic book movie genre will be, because that'll be like 2022. 2022. By then, I'm sure a lot of the luster will be lost in the comic book movie genre.
And a lot of the current MCU actors will probably be done with it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, most definitely by then. Because, we'll be in phase 4 if that actually happens, And...
Ooh, that's a big middle finger to Marvel.
Well, it's not trying to be. I mean, we can only have this boat go on for as long as possible. I don't see it lasting forever.
Not from you, but from Fox. I would say if they were to do that, that would be a huge middle finger.
Yeah. So either they're going to squat on it until it just eventually has to revert. I don't see them ever doing a split deal like they did with Sony, because like we've said before, they're not in dire straits like Sony was and still kind of is.
No, but from a business standpoint, they could make some good money off of it, even if they didn't have as much creative rights off of it, because it only can go better from what they're going to make with this movie.
Yeah.
I mean, and you just slap Marvel's Fantastic Four on it, and it's guaranteed to make $400 million worldwide.
Like Marvel's Spider-Man, great title.
Crap.
I mean, it's going to make money. I feel like from a business standpoint, that if they cut a deal with Marvel, I don't think Marvel's going to be as generous as they were with Sony. But if they did cut a deal, I think they could profit more than just sitting and letting the rights reserve and not getting anything out of it.
Yeah, well, there's that, and there's also, maybe they'll want to do a third or a fourth reboot. And maybe the fourth time will be the charm, because you're like the Fantastic Four.
No.
I need a couple years to get the bad taste out of my mouth.
I know.
Oh. I mean, because I would love to see the Fantastic Four and X-Men that we currently have in the MCU. I would. Because, I don't want... because I'd like to see the X-Men in the MCU, but I don't want to... I don't want different actors, because I love the cast they have. It's perfect.
It's time to piss off some MCU fanboys and be like, man, if they had the X-Men, they would be terrible.
And the X-Men is my favorite Marvel franchise, so
yes.
I'm really biased when it comes to the X-Men. So, and their movies.
Yeah.
That, and I just think Days of Future Past was one of the most well done comic book movies even though it's not really a comic book movie, but it was just so well done.
It's like a polar.
But anyways, I digress. I would like to see those. If like Fox and Marvel did strike a deal of some sort, I don't, don't think it'll happen. I'd think if Fox sold the rights or squatted them, I guess that would happen more because there's a lot of bad blood, I guess, between Fox and Marvel.
Yeah.
But you never know.
Well, Jilly, don't be ridiculous. There's no bad blood. I mean, Marvel only killed Wolverine and Deadpool and canceled Fantastic Four. There's no bad blood. Come on now.
I mean, if Kevin Feige is the genius that everyone claims
Feige.
he is, Feige. Sorry, I
Kevin Vagina.
Kevin Vagina, Kevin Feige.
Feige.
I started drinking already. I'm sorry. If he's as good as everyone says he is, maybe he can strike a deal.
I just think of that image of Kevin Feige giving that really creepy smile and the word "soon" under it. That's just what I imagine, and it's horrifying.
I always fuck up his name. I don't know why. You guys have corrected me on this like a million times.
I know.
I always fuck up his name.
All right. Well, I think we've all kind of said our piece on this Fantastic Four issue and everything that's been going on and how we feel about the movie and what we hope this franchise will lead to in the future. We don't know.
You can't even call it a franchise at this point. It's a
sequel.
It's a clusterfuck. I mean, that's what.
It's a good movie.
Good.
Not a great one.
That says something about your taste.
It dropped harder than the Twin Towers.
It kind of did in that last act. Anyway. All right. Let's wrap this up. This has been the Comic Patch Review. We've been talking about Fantastic Four. If you didn't notice that by now, I really want to judge where your attention has been this entire time. Hope you guys enjoyed listening to it. Any last words before we sign off?
The first half was okay. Second half is a joke. Doom is abysmal. I don't even want to say reboot it. I just want to say leave it alone. Let it rest.
Yeah. Form your own opinions. Don't go off what other people say and think it's law. Also, don't boycott a studio just because they hold character rights. That's very childish. Reminds me of a little kid who throws a tantrum when their mother doesn't give them ice cream. So be an adult. Don't be a narrow-minded bigot when it comes to just these things. Try to be objective, even if you don't like the situation. Give things a try. If they're bad, they're bad. If they're good, they're good.
Just take it up the butt and see if you like it. I mean, life is about experimentation.
You know it.
You guys pretty much said what I wanted to say about, go in with an open mind, and don't judge a movie if you haven't seen it. You can't form a critical opinion based on that. This is far from being the worst comic book movie ever when we have the likes of Catwoman, Batman, Robin, even I think, X-Men 3, Origins, Iron Man 2, that's aggressive, I know.
Yeah.
Ghost Rider.
It's far from being the best either.
Far from the best, yes, but far from the worst. It's just in the middle, but you know what, if we've let so many other movies slide by with the bare minimum, Thor, then I think we should let this one too a little bit. So that's all of our opinions, I think. I hope you all enjoyed listening to us ramble on for over an hour. And this is the Comic Couch Review signing out for now. See you guys later.
Bye.
Auf Wiedersehen.